Hello and welcome to this Jane's Weather Update. It is Friday the 31st of January. January has absolutely sped by and we've got a very big weather system that is affecting Queensland and then a big heat system that is affecting the southeast. A low that is here just off the northern Queensland coast. If we have a look at a low pressure system, our winds travel clockwise around that. So all of the moisture from the Pacific is just pushed straight into that Queensland coast. If you are just to the south of that low with big rainfalls in through there. Also a lot of activity across the top, generally hit and miss showers and storms, some of that more widespread. Heading to the south, we've got high pressure that is here just south of Adelaide at the moment. That is on its way eastwards. Now, high pressure, winds travel anti-clockwise around those. So as soon as that moves out to your east, you're on the hot side of that. We've got a trough that is running down the west coast. So that is the cool change that has now moved through Perth. 41 yesterday and now on its way in, so cooler, milder conditions in through there. Once this high moves out to the Tasman Sea, that's where it's heading across the weekend, then extreme heat comes into the southeast. Last time we had the heat, it was here for one day only, and it was a big cool change that came through. It came through Melbourne, and by the next afternoon, it was in Sydney, so it pushed right on up the coast in through there, a strong one. This is very different. This heat, first of all, it's not just one day only. It's day after day, 3 or 4 of them in a row, and it's days and nights of extreme heat. So that's heat wave conditions, which is technically significantly above average both day and night. It's not a particular number. In terms of when that high moves through there and then the change comes along, this one isn't a strong change. It's not going to penetrate far inland, and so the heat may continue for a significant period of time, particularly if you're away from the coast in the southeast. All right, that's all of that. In terms of rainfall over the past week, a lot up the top. You can see already we've got big falls, over 200 millimetres that have been affecting that Queensland system, and I'll show in the maps how much longer it is going to persist and the fact that it's going to move inland. Otherwise, showers and storms in through here, east of a trough line. The east coast got hit, otherwise not a lot of activity that's happened in the rest of the country. This is the MJO. This is very important now. Madden-Julian oscillation. What is it? It's a pulse of energy that travels around the tropics. When it's in the Australian region, it enhances the low pressure. It enhances that connection to that tropical moisture. So what does it do? It makes it rain. This makes it rain up the northern part of Australia. Then the weather pattern can work out whether it feels like tapping into that moisture and sending it down into the south. So this tells us that we're going to have enhanced wet weather in the northern parts of Australia while this is here in the green zone. We've just crossed over and it's likely to go all the way in through here and may still be in our region at the end of February. So that's a lengthy stint for the MJO to be here. That's a lengthy stint of increased tropical activity in the Australian region. So that's a really important one for us this week. Having a look at the sea surface temperature anomaly, so how much warmer or cooler than average the top of the oceans are. If you look around Australia, we have got warmer than average waters around the entire thing. So whenever you have got winds pushing in, it has more moisture than it normally would. Now, up the top, that's where all of the 26 degree water, which can hold this much moisture. Whereas down the south, that's more about 15, 16 degrees, which holds about this much moisture. So in the south, it goes from having this much moisture to this much moisture. So not a huge, big impact. In the north, because it's 26 and now it's even warmer than that, it is this much moisture. So we really have a big impact when the waters around the northern part of Australia are warmer than average. So that's where our moisture is coming from. In terms of the Pacific Ocean box, this is La Nina. It's blue out there. It's red off the coast of here. It's an imbalance. It pushes that all of that moisture towards Australia. Over in the Indian Ocean, we're at the time of year where that imbalance doesn't matter and the monsoon takes over. So this pattern that's happening out through here, including the blue that is developing off Western Indonesia, isn't relevant for us at this particular time of year. The next couple of months, we start talking about that again. All right, let's look day by day in terms of what is likely to happen with the rain. On this map here, the pastel colours are how much rain. It's for the entire day, so up until 11 p.m. AEDT. So this is Friday, so keep an eye on that one in through there. Here is the rain for Queensland, hitting the coast there. I'm just going to zoom in so we can have a bit of a look. Offshore, yes, 100, 150, more than that, up to 200 millimetres, but it's a very coastal thing. It's Mackay up until about Cairns and north of there, but so it's really north of Mackay that we're seeing the big falls. It's not extending too far inland today. That's 5 to 10 millimetres here around Charters Towers, and it's not really extending in through here yet. But let's just focus on that day after day. So there's our Friday. Let's move through. Here is Saturday. So that has come inland. That's more than 150 millimetres here now impacting the coast, spreading further inland. Just to put it into perspective, 25 to 50 is what we jump up to in Charters Towers. Nothing quite in here yet. Moving into Sunday, huge falls on the coast, moving inland, extending right in through here as well. Moving into Monday, right over into the west, still going on the coast. This is a day after day after day system. The pattern is stagnant. It is there. It is long lasting. The rain is going to keep coming. So there we have Monday into Tuesday, maybe starts to weaken off, but still day after day we're seeing rainfall there. Maybe not as intense as what it was over the weekend and early next week. Moving to Wednesday, there we go, all the way through to the west. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it is a very long future of rain for northern parts of Queensland. At the moment, it's very coastal, but it is going to spread inland right all the way through to the west as we potentially have a low develop over the Gulf there. Now, this is all the way through to Sunday, the 9th of February, so 10 days away from now, 9 days away from now, and maybe some of that's going to trickle down. Let's move back out. I'm going to just go straight back to the start here. So here's Friday. We're going to move back out again, and let's get Tasmania in there, shall we? We don't want to miss out on that. Here's our high pressure system. By the end of Friday, it is here over northern Tasmania. By the end of Saturday, it is well out over the Tasman Sea, so the winds are northerly and the heat comes in. Let's watch the weather pattern. On Friday, nothing in through these southeastern parts. Showers and storms in northeast New South Wales, not quite making it into Queensland. Yes, further into the west where that trough line is, but then that activity kind of dies as we go into the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. So there's not a lot happening on that southeast Queensland and eastern New South Wales coastline. Let's move back though. So here we have Friday. Saturday, we start to develop through these inland parts. This here is hit and miss showers and thunderstorms. Sunday, the activity does increase, but it's hit and miss showers and storms. Here is Monday, and then here is Tuesday. Now, all of this moisture up and through here, is that actually connecting to this one? No, there's a very limited, very weak connection into that. So it's getting a hint of moisture from up in the north, but it's not able to translate that into rain. Yes, you saw in this pattern, it looks like there's a lot going on in there, but in reality, hit and miss. Lots of people will miss out. Hit and miss showers and thunderstorms. Some of those thunderstorms may have no rain in them whatsoever, and they're dry lightning strikes. They are bushfire creators rather than bushfire putters-outers. That's not really a word, but you understand what I mean there. So here we have today on Friday, there's the back end of the activity. So showers and storms out ahead of that. Moving into Saturday, the trough is the one through there. Not really relevant. It's more this one that is building in through here. Here is Sunday. There is that trough line there. The other one sinks away, so there's no cool change just yet. Moving into Monday, trough line is back in through there. Cold front is there. All the activities out to the east and the heat that comes with that as well. Let me just put air temperature on and we'll go back to, say, 2 in the afternoon. There we go. Heat all the way across here, right down into the southeast. So these are big extreme temperatures, 35 to 40, and some areas over that 40-degree mark, and even over 45. Gross, to put it bluntly. All right, so here's our daily rain back for Monday. Tuesday, there is that cool change. You can see the line, the kink in the isobars in through there. I'll get a cold front on it for you at some point when our dev team can figure out how to do them. Trough line in through here. So that is the cool change that comes through. At the moment, look for the kink in the isobars. Still got that kink in the isobars here, which is pushing that moisture in, but there's the cool change. Moving into Wednesday, not a lot of activity. Moving into Thursday, not a lot. Friday, yeah, not a lot, and this is a full week away at this stage. So that's where we're heading there. Let's look at totals. So this is through the end of Friday the 7th, the very end of that one. Here, all of these are over 300 millimetres. That's as high as our key goes. So huge falls from Cairns right through to Mackay, but not really any further south. Extending inland, so this is 100 to 150 millimetres in these parts here, even at Mount Isa, 25 to 50. So big falls extending right inland through that northern Queensland part. Does it connect into the south? Not really. 5 to 10, that is if you get a storm overhead and it actually has a bit of oomph in it and it can deliver that rain. This is not widespread activity. 15 to 25 over that Grampians fire. Geez, that would be nice, but it's definitely not guaranteed. Okay. So that's what we're looking at, hardly anything over in the west. All right, so that's next week in terms of the pattern and how it's going to roll out. Let's look at the Euro model and the week as a whole and what that means in terms of being above or below average. This one here is rain, and it is from Monday onwards for that week. Yes, it has all of that activity coming in here. It's got it coming in here. It's got the activity up the top. It's got it spreading right through into those western parts of Queensland. It tries to put it down in through here. It knows there is that system that's coming in, but it does not make it all the way down there. So it's not a significant impact in terms of wet weather as that moves across the southeast. The Euro model says no. Having a look at the temperature associated with that. Heat. You saw it on the map that I showed you. All of this is significantly above average. Now, if you're in the coastal parts of the southeast, the change comes through Tuesday into Wednesday. But it's a shallow change. It's not strong. It doesn't penetrate far inland. And so that heat does continue in through here. The high is all the way down here. So these parts of the coast are missing out. It's just boring weather for southeast Queensland and much of eastern New South Wales. So that's next week. That's from the Euro model. Let's get a second opinion. We've got the Australian model in through here. Now, have a look at the dates on this. This is very, very important. Several days ago, the Australian model had a cyclone forming in the Gulf. It had it moving inland through the Northern Territory and had the remains of that spilling out into the southeast of the country. That's what that is still picking up on, because this is run on the 28th of January. So we're now on the 31st, so this is old. Unfortunately, it takes them that much time to actually process the data and get that forecast out. So since then, we've seen a lot of big changes on the model, and it doesn't like that situation anymore. So this here, I would not be trusting as far as I could throw it. In fact, I almost don't want to put my hands on top of it so you can't actually see it. So this is what the Bureau's model was saying 4 days ago. It's not the current situation. Yes, what they have in Queensland is likely. We saw that coming in. We know it's coming in from there. We know it's coming in from there. We know it's extending right into the west. And we know we've got the MJO here. So we've got lots of tropical activity. Connecting down to the southeast, I think not. So there's that first map. Have a looking at days. Yes, the heat is on here and here. We're expecting that from the weather map. That makes sense. In terms of days that are significantly cold, yes, I would expect that that is correct, what they've got on the map there. We know it's coming in. You may remember several years ago, a very stationary trough in Queensland, and so it was day after day of rain and cooler than average temperatures. Not like you'd get in the southeast that is a massive cold snap, but just cooler enough, and it has big problems with cattle. This is a situation that we are facing this week as well. Okay, so that is what we're looking at next week. In terms of nights, yes, warmer than average you would expect. There's nothing cooler than average. Let's now go to week 2. We'll go back to the Euro model and move that forward. So here we have from the 10th of February onwards. This one has the rain still coming into northern Queensland. We know the MJO is here. It has it extending further inland across the rest of the top. So lots of activity up in that northern part of the country. Week 2, starting the 10th of Feb. Is it going to trickle down? Is it going to connect down into something in the south? Maybe something in through here. Maybe something in through here. To Queensland, into New South Wales. Maybe just into northeastern parts of Victoria. Cold fronts hitting the southwest, so not a big thing for Tasmania. And dry tendency here off the coast is where the wet weather is. So that's what the Euro model has. There, and there as the potential connections. Let's have a look at what that means for temperature. So we'll move into week 2. The heat lingers in through here. I talked about the cool change coming through, how it's very shallow. You'll feel it on the coast, and then it may heat up again, but there's going to be a little bit of a change in there, whereas inland, Extreme heat, extreme heat, extreme heat, maybe just not quite extreme, but still hot, and then back up to the extreme heat again. So this is an extended period of overall being hot and average. And all of that cloud, all of that rain up to the north, that is why that is looking blue. Also in the southwest, that is looking blue. So that's something interesting to keep an eye on. Let's have a look what the Bureau suggests for that one. And so here we are in the following week. This is from the 11th to the 17th. So it's got lots of activity still in Queensland. It hasn't moved down into the southeast. Did we see that there? No, we didn't. We only saw that in the north and maybe trickling down in through here. So the Bureau's got it trickling down in through here. So there's some consensus there, but it also has in the southeast. Let's see. It's got a connection right down into the south. Again, remember, this is from the 28th. It's when that sort of cyclone was going to come in through and deliver all of that rain in its wake as it moved in. Once it was no longer a cyclone, but just a ball of rain that moves through. So I don't know how much you can trust that. It's got the browns in through here. That seems reasonable. All the activity across the top. The connection to the south, I'm not entirely sure that that one is on the money. Okay, having a look at the heat. This has got hotter weather in southeast Queensland as we move into week 2. Interesting. And northeast New South Wales. It's got hotter conditions here on the coast and a little bit over in the southwest, whereas this one had the cool that was in through here. All right, so differing opinions from both of these models. Having a look at daytimes being colder than average, yes, you would expect it if that's where the cloud and rain is at that time of year. So yes, that does make sense, particularly for the north. Heading into nights, yes, warmer than average, nothing cooler than average. All right, having a look at the outlook. So this is February as a whole. The Bureau doesn't have wet weather in southeast Queensland all through much of eastern New South Wales. So that's putting a pause on the rain through there. So more days like we're seeing in the next week where not much is going on. All of that action across the top, it's got it funneling down into the southeast. Let's see whether one of those systems can actually grab that moisture and push it down in through here. It's got a bit moving into the southwest as well. Hot days, hot nights. Moving into the second month, so this is March. All of that activity in Queensland. We know we've got heaps and heaps of moisture off through here. We know we've got that very weak La Nina happening, so it's pushed in our direction. So yes, you would expect that. That's got it coming down into New South Wales, but not quite making it in through these areas here, which were in drought for a very long period last year. So is this a trough that sits in through here, gives the wet weather to those on its eastern side, and the western side misses out, perhaps? Hot days, hot nights, and moving into the seasonal outlook, all of that across the top. It's got less in through here for the 3 months as a whole, for Feb to April, and it does have a connection to the southeast. We'll see whether that happens. Okay, let's whip around the country, and we'll start with Brisbane. So not a lot happening. I'll make this quite quick. 11 millimetres, that's not a lot in the next week and a little bit for this time of year. There's no extreme heat. We're around the 30-degree mark, so it's meh. It's just normal weather for day after day, not a lot of precipitation. If I move to Sunday, that's when we've got 40 to 60% of a lot of it. We've got gusty southeast winds, so it may be quite showery as we move through Sunday. Let's head into Sydney. Again, not much happening for this time of year. It's in that quiet zone on the weather map. There's no extreme heat in through there. We get to 30 and then the cool change comes through. But that's not through the next Thursday that we actually start to really feel that. So not a lot happening. 4 millimetres is the total. Heading into Melbourne. Today is the last of the milder conditions. If you only like milder weather, get out and enjoy it while we have before we need to buckle in for the heat. Tomorrow, temperatures rapidly rise. There's bright sunshine. The extreme heat is here from Sunday. So about 19 overnight, high 30s during the day. No storms anymore. All of the activity to the west. That's on Sunday. We'll see whether one of them brings it back before I do my news bulletin tonight. Moving into Monday, we've got 20-40%. So 2 models like the hint of a storm across the Melbourne area. Again, most of it should be to the west and up on the ranges. Extreme heat overnight. Tuesday, a low of 25, lovely, a high of near 40, but then there is the cool change. Look at it, goes from northerly to a southerly, showers and storms, the potential for it, again, hit and miss, and then milder conditions on the other side, so that by Wednesday, cloudy morning, back to mostly sunny afternoon, and all of that clears overnight, and we're back into milder conditions. So that's what you can expect from Melbourne. Heading into Adelaide, There's no wet weather, 0.4 millimetres in the entire outlook. The heat is building today, and then the extreme heat is here for several days in a row. Bit of a dip, and then not much later next week. So it's these days that we're looking at the extreme heat being around the Adelaide area. Bright sunshine, no wet weather. Heading to the west, 41 in Perth yesterday. Now today we've got the cool change, so we've got our milder conditions in through here, so just in the low 30s. The next burst of heat begins on Tuesday and may continue for a couple of days next week. All right, that's it from me. As always, head to janesweather.com to get the latest guidance for your particular area. I will see you next Friday. Bye.